Our podcast is a part of the World Podcast Network, now with over 1,000 podcasts. Visit the World Podcast Network at worldpodcast.network to listen to podcasts in over 12 genres. Come vote our podcast episodes up and help us rise on the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing the Golden Bachelorette, episode 5. So this might sound a little different just because I'm actually doing this on my phone. So it's going to sound a little different. I haven't actually done this in a little bit, but it's going to sound just a little different because of that. But hopefully it's not going to be too bad. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's do some hot goss before we hop into the episode. Okay, so this is Sister Wives related. So In Touch reported that Cody and Robin had quietly taken their flagstaff home off of the market. If we remember, they had put it on the market. The 5-bed retreat was only on the real estate market for a month, but the patriarch decided to pull the plug on that. The outlet confirmed that as of October 8th, the house had yet to be sold. Cody had first listed the home he shares with Robin on August 29th for $1.65 million. The listing detailed the master bedroom as a, quote, luxury spa, like an ensuite bathroom, complete with a large dual head shower and built-in shelving in the walk-in closet. But it seems no one was interested in buying the home with, quote unquote, purple walls in the primary bedroom. Yeah, I would say. So the removal of the home listing comes shortly after Christine sued Cody for child support and custody of their 14-year-old daughter, Bobby Truly. The paperwork, which was filed on September 16th, shows that Christine is asking for full custody of Truly. The mother of 6 is also requesting the court to establish paternity for her youngest daughter as well, which would probably force him to be on her birth certificate. So we all know where that's going to lead. Christine is asking for the step because Cody, as I just said, isn't listed on Julie's birth certificate as her father. Cody's third wife is also ex-wife is requesting a domestic relations injunction that will stop, quote, both parties from harassment, domestic violence, taking the children for non-routine travel without court orders or permission, canceling or modifying services, and demeaning or disparaging the other party. So clearly this is just a, quote, knife in the kidneys for Cody. I like that. Good on you, entertainment news. But let's go on to the next piece of podcast. This is more Bachelor Nation related. So Jason Tartik, as we know, who was with Caitlyn, and his TikTok personality girlfriend, Kat Stickler, have split after 6 months of dating. And this is what they have to say. So, quote, I'm sad to share that Kat and I are no longer together. And he wrote this on his Instagram story on October 12th. It's fair to say that I love hard with all of my heart and fall fast. Sometimes in life that works out and other times it doesn't. This time it didn't. He continued, Kat has brought me so much happiness and light. She brought out parts of me I never knew existed. I'll forever be grateful for her and, of course, her daughter, sweet MK. This chapter closes amicably and another opens. So he further noted that he will be rooting for Stickler's happiness moving forward, adding, I'm also rooting for mine alongside a bandaged part emoji. Stickler, had to believe, right, as what I said, has also spoken out about the breakup in her own social media statement, saying, quote, with 2 back-to-back hurricanes, I obviously didn't think it was the right time to talk about my personal life. And she wrote this on the same day on her Instagram story, or she actually did a video. A lot of you have already guessed that, yes, Jason and I have broken up. It was amicable. It just didn't work. I don't want to talk about it. Just wanted to tell you guys, and it's not love wasted. I feel like sometimes it's so easy to think when a relationship ends that love was wasted, but love is never wasted. That's all I have to say. That is that. Let's move on to our last piece of hot goss for this episode. And this is Love is Blind related. So Shane is Instagram official with his new girlfriend, Julie Theus, I believe is how you say her name. So on Sunday, October 13th, um, Shane revealed he's dating the winner of the Netflix game show, The Trust, a game of greed, with the pair sharing multiple cute photos on social media, which I do have. So I will post that. Shane posted a carousel of images to Instagram with one snap showing the pair posing for a selfie and smiling sweetly for the camera. A second photo showed Theus wrapping her arms lovingly around her new man while wearing a blue mini dress and heels, posing with one leg in the air. So, like I said, I have them, or at least I think I have one pic. Or no, I have them. I have a couple pictures, so I'll post those. Shane stood proudly beside her wearing a gray t shirt and jeans and holding a drink. A further image showed a shirtless Shane carrying his partner as she smiled at him and again wrapped her arms around him wearing a crop top and matching pants. He captioned that post, Love is her, with a heart emoji. And she captioned hers or commented her with my best friend, heart emoji. She also gushed about the pair's romance on Instagram, sharing another photo of her wearing the blue dress, writing in the caption, mine, period, heart emoji. And he commented, my love, heart emoji. Theus then shared the post on her Instagram stories, writing surprise with a love heart emoji. They really love the heart emoji. In another Instagram stories video, Theus commented on fans' sweet and supportive messages, but admitted people first thought she was Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Taylor Frankie Paul after Jansen posted about his new girlfriend on his Instagram stories, saying, quote, I'm not completely mad because she has really good hair and I really have good hair. So I see where it came from, but not one was like, is that Julie? No one knows who you are, girl. It's fine. Anyway, that's that. That's the news. He does look fairly healthy, so that's really great. But yeah, that's basically it for the hot goss. Let's jump into the reason that we are here. Right, The Golden Bachelorette, season 1, episode 4. Episode 5. We're on week 4. So we have Pascal ironing. He's ironing, y'all, his own clothes. We have made progress, y'all. And he says he has a room all to himself now, but it's kind of maybe a little tough for him. He says he misses his friends. And yeah, Keith feels the relationship is stalling a bit. You don't say. After last week's debacle, I would agree. Then Joan meets with Trista, who, if you remember, was our very first Bachelorette. And they kind of just talk about, there will be I don't know what I wrote here. Anyway, let's continue. Trista does say she regrets one thing, though, through her journey, and that was not telling Ryan that she was falling in love because he gave her that and she didn't open up with her feelings. So she kind of is just kind of suggesting, I guess, to Joan is don't hold back. So we have a one-on-one, and that is with Keith. And the date card reads, I want a love that gets better with age. So he got that one-on-one. We're going to be going in a helicopter, which is the first time for both of them going into a helicopter. Oh, I remember what I wrote there. There'll be no roses. There's no roses being handed out in this week. She kind of wants everyone to be on the same level playing field, which will kind of help her through who she picks at the end. That's what it was. So yeah, so they go into the helicopter. They're flying around, and then they fly by the mansion, and they can see the guys in the pool. And of course, the guys can see them. And they're like, oh, that's them. Yep, that's them. And they're all like waving and whatever. And Keith is like, oh, they are going to be so jealous. And I'm okay with that. And we go back to the guys in the pool. And Jonathan's like, okay, so who's jealous? Who's jealous? Anyone jealous? You jealous? Okay, yeah. I'm jealous too. And like, but yeah, they still can't, even though like they're jealous and they're probably a little hurt hoping that was them. Um, they still handle it so well. They're so good. They're good to each other. Anyway, um, so then they land in this winery and we're doing kind of wine tasting with this couple who I don't know if they own the winery, but that's where we're at. And they kind of, talk about how long they've been married. They've been married for 32 years. And Joan's like, oh, I was married for 32 years before John passed away. So she said, sorry, I brought that down, y'all. But it has kind of made her think about John in that moment when she heard the number. So which is understandable. But then they kind of just go for a walk. And we'll get back to them in a minute. We're just going to take pause and head back to the mansion. And we're back with Mark. Mark is struggling a little bit, y'all. Mark, this it's confusing. You need to kind of really stay close and focus on what's happening here because you can get lost a little bit. But um, Mark was saying that he was kind of hoping, I guess, or wondering whether or not he was making the right decision, doing the right thing. And he's kind of talking to Pascal about his doubts. But then he talks about this hummingbird, which we did kind of see him kind of walking around the pool, kind of maybe a little down in the dumps a little bit, and we could see a hummingbird kind of flying around. So he tells him the story about a hummingbird feeder that him and um, Denise had. And he said that what would happen is that she would put her hand out and the hummingbird would just kind of feed off of her hand. And he's like, I've never in my life seen anything like it before. So it was a really interesting thing to like hear him talk about. So he kind of takes like he says, for Kelsey, for her it's butterflies. But for him, his kind of sign is a hummingbird. So he's explaining he's kind of having his doubts and he's going walking around out there and he sees a hummingbird and that kind of stops him in his tracks and it kind of helps him realize I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it kind of helps him, you know, feel a little better about it. Um, so back to the date with Keith and Joan, he talks about his ex. As we kind of know, she suffered with addiction. Because of that, the relationship ended. Um, they haven't, him and his kids have not seen her for 12 years. I mean, do they know she's alive? Like, I totally get why you need to create the boundary and create separation if she is unwilling to help herself. Maybe she is sober. We don't know. Um, and maybe she feels shame and doesn't want to put herself into it. Because again, facing your demons is not an easy thing. Um, but I wonder, like, is she okay? I still would want to know, is she okay? I don't even know if he knows that, but I mean, again, kudos to whatever you have to do to protect yourself and your kids. So that's basically it. That's basically that date. We will see if he gets a rose later on, but we have a group date, and on this group date, we have Guy, Jordan, Jonathan, Pascal, and Chalk. Our love has no time to spare. So we go on bowling, y'all. Which means that Mark because Mark is the only person who hasn't been mentioned, is getting that one-on-one, which again, if anyone was paying attention, if anyone remembered, I actually think I might have talked about this actually on a episode a while back where we talked about the fact that it was released that Mark did stay as long as they get a one-on-one date. We'll leave it at that for now. Um, but so we are at the date, we're going bowling, and she, as she's kind of waiting for them to come, just rolls a strike right off the bat. And I'm like, I wish I could have done that during my summer party. I didn't. And they all come in, and Pascal is kind of struggling with the idea of having to wear the shoes and the shirt. He's like, this isn't my style. But he's a sport about it. He does what he's supposed to do, and he doesn't know really how to play or how to bowl because he said this is not something you kind of do in Europe. But I think he did pretty well for somebody who says he doesn't bowl or hasn't really done a lot of bowling. Chalk, my chalk here, is really manipulating all the time with her, which is bothering the men quite a bit because like they're like, hello, like we're here too. But I mean, I didn't particularly like the way he was handling himself. But I mean, he's doing what he needs to do at the same time. And so yeah, the guys are not getting a lot of time, obviously. Um, and I think one of them said, I think it was Jonathan, that kind of was like, it feels like they're a couple. Like I'm crashing their date kind of situation, which isn't a really fun thing. Like you're not the only one here, my guy. But anyway, Guy kind of says to him, hey, how about you let us have some time with her too? Like, like not just about you. But Chalk could give two shits. He's like, I'm here to spend time with her. I'm here to get to know her. So, whatever. Says he wants all the time while he can have it. So Chalk bowls. And while he is, Guy just kind of slides in there and gets his time, which like kudos to him too, doing what you gotta do. And Jonathan shows Joan kind of now they're kind of partying away and talking to each other separately. Jonathan shows Joan a picture of his mom, who was very pretty, um, and also an older picture of himself as well, where he had hair, a lot of it. And he also shows her a picture of his kids. And the guys are like, well, they're kind of, huddled around and whatever. They're like, Chalk is, really taking up time, you know what I mean? Like, what's up with that? But that's it. That's kind of the end of that date. We're not getting roses in this date, so it's kind of crazy, but going a little quickly. But this is going to be a little shorter, but it is what it is. So let's get on to the next. We're heading on to the final one-on-one date before we head into hometowns. So this obviously this Mark, as we mentioned. And the dress that she's wearing, like, I'm not a green girl. Don't particularly like green, but this is different. I loved this dress on her. Her style is incredible, honestly. She looks good in almost anything she's worn. But this dress, I really liked it. Um, so they drive up to a yacht. They're going to be, yachting below deck style. And when they kind of are on the boat's doing its thing. They're kind of just sitting there drinking champagne. They just sit there and it's awkward. There's no talking. And I remember watching this the first time and saying, the screaming on the TV, say something, Mark. Please say something. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't saying anything. And I know he has on a little bit of a slow burn or, a little slower on and getting there. But I was like, oh God, please say something. Like, you can't do this. But Um, Joan is just kind of there, just sipping her champagne while trying to have, I guess, any form of conversation with him. But then the captain comes by and saves the day with a card from Jesse. Basically, they're going to be doing a little scavenger hunt. To kind of, and this is kind of similar to what Jen and what was his name, Marcus, what they did. When they kind of did like the Wizard of Oz, Wicked style thing, where they would kind of go around the place and it created a conversation and created a way for them to kind of get to know each other. So this is what they're kind of doing, getting them to talk. I swear to God, a producer or something was out there being like, we need to do something. We need to do something fast. Listen, we got to make sure he's able to get to be the next bachelor, the golden bachelor. So we need to get something where we got to get dialogue going. Say, write this down right now. And then say from Jesse, we got to do this right now. We got to save this. Seriously, it was not great until it got a little better. But anyway, so, um, yeah, they're going around and doing the scavenger hunt. It's definitely helping the communication between them. Um, and it gets them to open up about themselves. So after the scavenger hunt, they're just kind of sitting there eating some food, drinking some more champagne. And he kind of talks about Denise with her cancer and how she was in stage 4 of breast cancer. Um, kind of right off the bat, like when they got the diagnosis, that's what the diagnosis was. Um, So I can't even imagine knowing that. Um, and they kind of talk about like the different signs they both kind of experience with, you know, the passing of their spouses, and him with the hummingbird and her with, I believe it was the hawk, right? Um, so they kind of, talk about that and connect on that. But he tells her about the story that when, I guess this was after her passing, and he mentions that her birthday was, she's a Christmas Eve baby. And they went to Mexico, I guess, with the family after her passing. And they were, this was a little confusing if they saw a hummingbird at the destination they were at, or if the hummingbird was like near the car they were in or something. I'm a little confused by the story and how it came about, but they basically saw a hummingbird just kind of there, and they're like, "Oh, mom's with us." So I think they went on this trip actually not long after she'd passed. So it was, or maybe like the same year she'd passed. But yeah. So he's kind of telling her about this and kind of saying like, "Do you believe in science?" And this is kind of where he went, and then kind of talks about the fact of his experience at the mansion and how he saw a hummingbird when he felt at his lowest, and questioning whether or not he should be here or not. And so yeah, he's kind of going through that, and so yeah, he kind of talks about like, I think the thing that is, she says here, that's missing for her, and I have to agree, is where does Joan fit in? Because he kind of really talks a lot about his experience at the mansion with men, his experience with Denise, and how Denise is fitting into this journey as well, and how he kind of contributes, or kind of does a lot of gratitude towards the men and their support. But where does she fit in? And I think that's kind of the question that's not being answered. But they talk about, or she says, sorry, she says, they talk about their spouses, which is great. Their spouses are a part of who they are. But Joan says something is just missing, and she's about to find out what that is. So that's the end of the date. Then it's the next day, and the guys are all talking and talking about what the hometowns are going to be like for each of them. And Joan just kind of shows up at the mansion, and she goes inside, and she's like, I'm looking for Mark. Do you know where he is? Uh-oh. And she goes outside and she finds him because he was outside talking. And Keith is like, I don't know. This feels like this is a good thing. I don't know why I think this is a good thing because Keith is not. If the Bachelorette is showing up, or the Bachelor, whoever is in charge here, is showing up and saying to the one individual, "Can we talk?" It's not usually a good thing prior to a rose ceremony, especially. It's not really a good thing. And yeah, so she talks to Mark, and how about how things went with the date, and that it went really well. Um, but she says, I went home and I was just thinking something is missing. And she wasn't sure exactly what that was. But then she woke up the next day and she had a little bit of clarity as to what that could be. She kind of says, you said a lot personally about how things have, worked out for him through this. But she's like, I didn't see me in that, which makes her think, like, are we doing the right thing here with each other? Um, so she's like, I think, or she also said, like, she doesn't see them also as a whole, them, her and Mark. She's like, I think, maybe I came into this too soon for you. She kind of, even though she obviously struggled throughout this with the loss of her husband, you can also tell she is very much ready for this, ready to find someone new to complement her now and in life. And Mark, I think, wants that too. But again, from what our understanding of how this has really affected him, from hearing it from Kelsey and um, seeing that with him as well, with the hometown dates with him and with Kelsey, um, and in this journey, he's not quite where she is yet, and I think that's unfortunate. So with that, he's going home, and Mark is leaving us, and he goes and he talks to the guys, and he explains that it's not going to be him. He's going to go home, and you know, he just it wasn't his time. But don't you worry, y'all. If this man isn't the next Golden Bachelor, I'm gonna lose my ever living mind. But it makes me worried because I feel like there are definitely other people here who are also capable of doing this role of the next Golden Bachelor. I personally think still it will probably be Mark, but I'm curious. I'm gonna throw it out there because again, I said it from moment one when Joan left that she's gonna be the next Golden Bachelorette. I got thrown off after that, but I always said she was gonna be the next, and I was right. We were all right. We all figured that out. But I'm curious to know. I'm gonna throw some names out there, and I'm gonna do another poll. And we have another poll going right now that I'll talk about after the next episode, which will probably be going out after the next episode airs. But either way, which I might go out early, we'll see. But either way, I'm gonna throw out some names. There are people that I think could be perfect candidates to be the next Golden Bachelor if they're not chosen, or some of them I'm gonna name have already not been. But I suspect Jonathan could be in the running to be the next Golden Bachelor, which I'm not necessarily fond nor keen. But people like him. I'm not saying I don't like him. I still don't trust him. I think if not chosen, Pascal could even be a possibility. Not as much as I think even Jonathan, but I think he could be definitely a possibility. And another person that I'm going to throw out there is because I want to, even though I don't think he would. But hey, we had our first Asian bachelorette. Who knows? Maybe we're ready. I think we are to have an Asian Golden Bachelor. And that's why I'm going to throw out there Charles. I think Charles is such a sweet man and deserves love and happiness. So I think like that's also a very big possibility. I'm not sure who else that I could think of. I think Chalk is a possibility if he isn't chosen, but I I don't know how he wouldn't be personally. But I think that could be another option. But I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks. I'll start that poll after this episode airs, but it's published. So I'll put that post out there and see what people think. And again, that will be on Twitter to see what people think about that. But let's get back to this. We are at the end here of this episode. We are heading straight into the rose ceremony. Now, this rose ceremony is a very important one. This is the hometown date ceremony. Who is getting a hometown date with Joan? So let's get into it. That is going to be Pascal, Chalk, obviously, Gary, God, Guy, Gary's not even here, Guy, and Jordan is our last. These are our hometown dates. So going home is Keith, Jonathan, and obviously with Mark being the other. That surprised me with Jonathan. I was actually really shocked that Jonathan did not get a rose. And I don't know the reasons behind it. Why that because I thought they had a really strong connection. Honestly, stronger than Jordan. I'm actually kind of confused by Jordan. Um, but I don't know. It was an interesting choice. I'd be really curious to know why. Whenever that opportunity is brought to us, but I'm curious to know why that is. But anyway, that's what's happening. Um, she does walk him out. Um, to she walks him out and she tells him, "You made an imprint on my heart." And she also tells him, "You are seen, and don't forget it." And I thought it was very sweet. But here's what I'm gonna say. I think the reason why I just don't trust him is like I have a very hard time believing that this man in his adult years has had trouble being seen. I really do. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. Something about him that I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop in the same way I did with Gary last season. You know, I don't know, man. But anyways, that's it for this episode. Again, I hope this sounded okay for everybody. I just wanted to make sure this got recorded and was able to get 2 episodes out to you. But yeah, that's basically it. So the next episode that's going to be coming your way, that's going to come on Thursday morning, is going to be the final episode that we had to cover of Golden Bachelorette. So yes, this as a reminder, I think I did include this because we are going to be getting the Sister Wives episode as well after. But I think I mentioned it there. We're going to head into Toe universe, kind of get that done and over with. It's going to be a lot easier for me to get through that. And because again, I'm disappointed in this season, but it is what it is. So we'll kind of go through that, get that done. Because guys, Toe's almost done. I wasn't expecting that, but I kind of was with Last Resort being announced, which we will talk about in a later episode. But yeah, that's coming to an end. We need to get through it. So Toe is next. And after we get through the Golden Bachelorettes, I'll remind you again. But yeah, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.